Portland mayor completely bends knee and signs the executive order in response to President Trump's DEI rules. Yeah, Trump had a bunch of stuff come out and said, hey, you guys need to follow the law. Portland looked and went, oh, yeah. We need to get in line because we don't want to lose out on that federal funding. How much? Oh, it's a bunch. Let's get into it. Here we go. I think what Portland's mayor did is the right move. And we're going to check this story out too. Seattle, on the other hand, you've got more virtue signaling going on in Seattle right now. You've got a mayor who thinks his constituency just wants a bunch of DEI nonsense, and he's, laying heavy on the city prosecutor. Let's battle Trump. Do you know what Trump's record is on these lawsuits? I mean, that guy goes to the mat hard, right? Because he knows. And on so much of this stuff, he's going to win. DEI policy is racist at its core. And you're not going to win in court. So why even bother? Portland didn't. They're just like, we're going to take it.
Now at 5, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson ordering big changes to DEI initiatives citywide to comply with the Trump administration. He just signed an executive order requiring the city to adjust any programs or policies at risk of violating anti-discrimination laws. The goal to preserve federal funding for things like housing, transportation, and more. Now, the president has targeted local governments he says are illegally discriminating. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
And when you start to look at some of the paperwork on this, you're like, he's right. He's right. This stuff is just straight up racism. But it's under the auspices of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it's reverse racism. It's simple as that, right?
I'm Deborah Knapp. We have team coverage on Wilson's new executive order. K2's Christina Giardinelli spent the day at City Hall trying to talk to city councilors about this order. First, K2's Wright Gasway is breaking down what exactly the order does.
Trump supporters will undoubtedly see this as a win. The mayor's office says it allows the city to receive tens of millions of dollars in federal grant funding. The order prohibits city bureaus from preferencing certain races or genders in programs or policies. The mayor says it does not eliminate most DEI initiatives. However, it does affect about 75 programs or policies which appear to be in conflict with federal anti-discrimination laws. He will not say what those programs
racist
are. We have tried to get more specific information. However, a lot of it is protected by attorney-client privilege between city leaders and the city attorney. The mayor's office says some require minor changes, others require more work. The mayor says, in part, although this decision has been challenging, it is in the best interest of Portlanders. Losing federal funding would harm the very people that many of our city programs are designed to help. This is all tied to an executive order President Trump signed back in January. It requires local governments to assure the federal government they do not have any programs or policies that violate anti-discrimination laws and the Civil Rights Act.
They're basically signing an affidavit saying, hey, we're not violating the Civil Rights Act, which means they need to be in compliance. Otherwise, the federal government can pull back on that funding. And Portland is in dire need of that federal funding. They're in worse shape than Seattle is, in my opinion. They are in worse shape from an economic standpoint, from a budget standpoint, from a development standpoint. Any which way you look at it right now, Portland they're on the ropes. You know what I mean? They are on the ropes. So losing yet another round, they just can't do it. So Portland's mayor did the right thing and basically said, we're going to clean this up. Let's keep going. We don't want that funding to stop.
Now, right, the city is essentially saying it could have 75 programs or policies that conflict with anti-discrimination laws.
Racist.
This could open up the city to being sued, right?
We've been doing this for months, Steve. Could a prior grant or job applicant now sue and say they were discriminated against? It's hard to know without knowing which programs or rules are being changed. That is one thing we hope to ask the mayor today. However, he did not want to do an interview. We will certainly keep trying. At the live desk.
So the mayor doesn't want to do an interview. I don't think any of the politicians involved, they didn't want to do an interview because their cage has just been rattled. It's like, knock, 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 knock. Portland, get in line. And Portland's like, oh, what do we do now? So they're figuring out with their legal team what that looks like, which programs, what's the wording. They're going through everything they've got with a fine-tooth comb. And it's interesting. You know, we always talk about transparency, right? Where's the transparency on this? What programs are you changing? Some of that will come out. Some of that will come. It has to. It has to. But these guys are right. I mean, if you applied for a job and you knew it was a special program and that program has now been altered and you were denied the right to take a shot at that job and it was given to somebody else based on a racist DEI, policy that's in place, does the city of Portland have liability? Absolutely. I think it does. How much? How would that get proven in the courts? I mean, it's going to be interesting. But the bottom line is Portland can't afford to lose the funding.
Right, Gazaway, K2 News.
No, you will, right? Thanks for that. Our team coverage continues now with K2's Christina Giardinelli.
She's live at City Hall working to get reaction from city council members. So, Christina, so far, the only people talking are in support of the mayor's decision.
Yeah, Deb, that's right. The only council member I've managed to talk to so far is Councilman Dan Ryan, who says that he feels the mayor made a very difficult but necessary decision. Now, it's still unclear what the impacts of the executive order might be. Ryan says at the end of the day, he could not look Portlanders in the eye during a difficult budget year, knowing they had left federal dollars on the table. Now, I did ask him about the impacts of the order. What are your biggest concerns with the executive order?
I'm pausing for a long time because there's a lot of concerns. I think that right now we have to focus on, these are tough choices. And so it's like a harm reduction. And to me, it was more harmful to reject the money that's coming to us. Portlanders pay federal taxes. I pay federal taxes. You pay federal taxes. And to think that we would not receive those due funds is cringy to me.
You know what's cringy? Is having policies on your books that violate federal regulations. That's cringy. You know what's cringy is having diversity, equity, and inclusion policies that are straight up racist. And these guys know it. That is cringy. That's cringy. It's, But nobody wants to talk about that because they want what they want. They want all their people to get all the money. We're gonna fund this. We're gonna fund that. It's gonna be the greatest thing ever. I mean, come on now, kumbaya moment for all. This is Daddy Trump just reeling things back in. He's like, no. You've got laws on the books that prohibit this kind of thing. And everybody knows it. All the big corporations, they've been pulling back, because they can see the writing on the wall. This isn't going to go well, and this isn't worth the exposure for our funding to go down this road. Now, Seattle's just filled with a bunch of people that are, we're going to virtue signal this into the ground. And even if we lose all that money, then they go back to their constituents. See, we fought for you. Now people get kicked to the curb because there's no money for their low income or there's no money for their low barrier housing, right? Like, we told you we support you. Yeah, but I got no house now. And you're like, well, that's about how that game is played. If your policy is racist, you're going to pull that money.
Now, as Wright mentioned, the city has not told us what programs are impacted. Ryan says there are still a lot of unknowns, but he told me the mayor was transparent with the council before signing the order. He says the conversations were, quote, lively. It's unclear at this point whether councilors are
that's great.
Are against this move. I have been here all afternoon knocking on doors. I've also sent emails. And as I mentioned, Council Member Dan Wright is the only one who agreed to do an interview. I did get a written statement from Council President Ilana Pirtle-Guinea, who, much like Ryan, says she supports the mayor's decision. Live in downtown Portland, Christina Giardinelli, K2 News.
Christina, Thank you. And as we dig into Wilson's order, it appears the mayor is trying to thread the needle of satisfying the federal government.
Yep.
Also being committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Wilson says the order does not change the city's core values, remove words diversity, equity, and inclusion from city communications, eliminate most DEI initiatives, nor end the city's legal fight to overturn the federal rules targeting DEI efforts.
So what is next here? The city says over the next few weeks, city staff will develop action plans for impact programs and policies. Employees who work on impacted programs will be provided with resources and training to ensure compliance with anti-discrimination laws. That'll be with guidance from the city attorney's office and the Office of Equity and Human Rights. City council will oversee this whole process and guide any changes to city code. Those changes must be voted on by council.
So we want to hear from you tonight. Point your phone camera at the QR code on your screen. Tell us, what do you think the mayor?
Wow, that's up to 81%.
DEI policies, how they and lose funding.
Yeah.
Change the wording for compliance, or the city shouldn't have any DEI policies. And right now, most of you say the city should not have DEI policies.
Yep.
81% of voters picking that choice.
So let's get into some of the numbers here. You've got $30 million in federal funding coming down the pipeline just like immediately. And the mayor, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson, I think he's just like, you don't have the ability to fight it. You just don't. On what basis? Hey, we need this racist policy to stand. We are literally excluding people in favor of others with our policies on the books. And they know it. They know it. And that's why I think the mayor is fairly pragmatic in his approach here. And I think this was the right thing to do. And a lot of these policies, these have come well before his time. So he's playing a little bit of cleanup here. He's taking the heat for other prior mayors and councils and just, all this stuff that's going on. And bottom line is DEI policy is basically dead. It's getting people in trouble because you open up for lawsuits. One of the other major things that I think people are recognizing is that if somebody is a DEI hire or not a DEI hire, maybe they earned it based on merit, but they are a certain color or race, they now no longer really get that full credit for earning that job. It's just assumed you're a DEI hire. So it backfires on those who do get the jobs, and the whole thing's just a mess. And when you do get hired as a DEI hire, oftentimes you don't have the skill set to perform that job because you haven't earned it. So you get put into a job position you're not capable of actually performing. What happens? Yeah, you screw the job up. You don't have the ability to do what it takes. And eventually you're going to get fired. So, you got to have people on board that actually have the skill set to perform whatever that job is. And that's where the whole DEI thing just absolutely goes sideways, because it's not based on, can you actually perform this job? It's not. It's based on race. What color are you? There you go. All right. Right to the VP position. Let's do this. This executive order, the one from the mayor, means that city programs and services cannot give preference to groups with protected class status. Okay? Because it's illegal. Based on characteristics such as race or gender. Because it's illegal. Unless the city pursues a disparity study that legally supports that preference, then they're not going to, right? Could you imagine that lawsuit? I mean, all right, you're arguing based on what? And I will be really curious to see. We've got next article that I'm going to touch on today. Seattle to sue Trump administration over threat to federal funding. Of course, Seattle's going to sue because, go down with the ship, virtue signal to your constituents. See, we did everything we could. We lost that funding, but wasn't it worth it? Wasn't it worth it for all these programs? You guys had all these funding cut because we went to the mat for you. So, don't think of it as a loss. Think of it as a virtual signal gain. Nah, Seattle's going to absolutely capitulate like Portland did as well. They're just going to have to. This whole lawsuit thing, I mean, it's just, yeah. I think Keith Wilson did the right thing. I think he did the right thing. He had to bend over and take it, and he's going to keep taking it because he doesn't have a platform to stand on. He doesn't have the law behind him, and he knows it, and they know it. And that's why none of these knuckleheads wants to come out and talk. Hey, what about you guys just completely bailing on all your DEA nonsense? Well, we're not really bailing. See, we're going to just talk about it and we're going to do this. Bunch of shenanigans, right? It's just political nonsense. It's political shenanigans. City of Portland is managing $349 million in active federal grants. They do not want you lose that. That is the big hook, line, and sinker, right? With more than 90% going towards housing and transportation. We distribute federal investments to dozens of sub-recipients, community organizations, and government partners. You've got a massive, massive network in all these big blue cities that is heavily dependent upon that Fed money. And when you pull that rug, based on a racist policy, there isn't much you can do about it. You either comply or you don't. You bend that knee. Bend that knee. Just get down and grovel, right? Sir, may I have another? So community organizations and government partners who work alongside us to serve Portlanders, if we lose federal funding, so do you, Wilson wrote. That is the easy way out. Now, I'm going to be really curious with the Seattle lawsuit. On what basis are they going to sue? We are suing you because you're pointing out the fact that our programs are illegally based upon racism, and we don't like that. Right? That's going to be their lawsuit. What they're going to hinge it on, we'll figure that out. We don't really know yet. All right. So Mayor goes on, let's be clear. In Portland, we believe in diversity. It's okay to believe in diversity, but when you're making hiring preferences based on racism, I'm a hard no-go. I'm a business owner. You need people who can do the job. It's got to be merit-based. That is how business works. And when you monkey around with those dynamics, it doesn't help the people that you purportedly think you're helping. You're putting them in a position to fail, or you're putting them in that position which they've earned, but people assume they're a DEI hire. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Cut all this crap out. Get back to the basics. Let's go, right? We believe in equity and we believe in inclusion. We say those words proudly. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. But don't make your hiring processes dependent upon that. We will continue to operate vast majority of programs. Okay, right, whatever. For the small subset of programs and policies that need to change, we will build upon existing equity strategies. Okay, do what you want. Just basically comply. I think what was really interesting about the Portland thing is just how they absolutely caved. Yeah, no pushback whatsoever. And they knew it because most of these big blue cities, they know they don't have a leg to stand on. Let's check out this one real quick. City of Seattle is taking legal action against the Trump administration over recent executive orders as it puts critical federal funding at risk. City officials argue the orders threaten money used to support key services such as public safety programs and affordable housing. All right. But you can argue that. But what's your legal basis? Hey, it threatens this. Okay. All right. Yeah, but you are violating other federal laws, anti-discrimination laws. You're violating those. You're going to have a judge. It's going to go back and forth between a handful of judges, right? Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell and Seattle City Attorney Ann Davidson formally announced the lawsuit last Thursday during a press conference at City Hall. Okay. Legal complaint targets what city leaders describe as sweeping executive orders from the administration. They are sweeping. And you know what they're sweeping? They are sweeping the fact that you've got illegal policies on the books. You've got illegal programs on the books. And they're saying, no, no, no. No more of that nonsense. No more of those DEI shenanigans. We can't have that. You need to move on. You need to move on. And in order to ensure that you move on, We need you to certify you don't have any of this nonsense in your programs. And they're going to have to self-certify. Hey, let us know that we know we can trust you. And when you've got your end squared away, we'll release those funds. We'll just keep giving you that good fed money so you can go out and do all that harm reduction. The one dude we did talk to from the Portland Council, he talked about harm reduction because all these politicians are into that, right? All harm, no reduction, but it's based on data, right? Well, how's your homeless problem working out, right? How's your drug addiction death problem working out? How's your lack of businesses staying in Portland? Nordstrom is the newest one that word is on the street. They ain't staying for long. They've already dropped 3 stores, I think, in Portland, and they're going to probably drop their 4th. They're out of there because they can't make a go of it. You got too many shenanigans happening on your street level. You got too much safety and liability issues because you got just a bunch of nut jobs floating around with machetes and knives, and the streets of Portland are just, they're not safe, especially in the downtown core. You've had the same thing happen in Seattle, but everybody just wants to ignore it. It's great. Millions of visitors. Okay. Lawsuit comes at a politically charged moment as both Harrell, Mayor, and Davison are seeking re-election. Davison, who was elected as a Republican in 2021. And I don't have any issues with the roads that she's gone down. I think she has gone to the mat for public safety. I do, from my standpoint, from what little I can kind of figure out. What does a city attorney do? What does the attorney for the city do? I haven't had any major issues. I thought she's handled things pretty well, and I think she's gone down the right roads as far as what can the person in that position do to kind of help things along as far as the whole public safety thing goes. But who's previously faced scrutiny over her political alignment and whether she supports the current president's policies. Well, you got a whole bunch of just Looney Tunes in Seattle that are so far left that it doesn't matter what you do as the city attorney, you're going to be hosed. And that's Ann Davidson's position. She is hosed no matter what, just like Keith Wilson in Portland is. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Now, in Seattle, we've got, I think, even more virtue signaling and a better ability to sue. We're not, Seattle isn't quite on its heels, in a defensive position like Portland is. Portland is just completely on the defense, trying to hold together whatever they can. Now, Bruce Harrell has come out and he says all the right words to his constituents. Basically, remember when he called, people who go to church and people who worship the Lord, people who worship Jesus, people who worship God, right-wing extremists? Yeah, that's where we start to go down this lefty Looney Tune policy position where he's got to say a bunch of stuff because he's trying to get reelected and he's hoping people will remember, I fought Trump. We got crushed, we got annihilated, and we lost funding, but I gave it the good old college try with that lawsuit, right? Now, this is what these folks are going to do. They're going to sue. Federal government's going to win. Seattle's going to give up because they realize, hey, our funding is tied to our ability to prove that our DEI policies aren't racist anymore, knowing full well they've got some massive, massive exposure. Hey, I applied for that job. I didn't get it. And you guys had clearly racist policy on the books? Huh. Weird. Right? I mean, you see it any different way? You see it any, I don't. I mean, this will be an entertaining one to kind of watch as it goes down. But, the virtue signaling of these two cities right now is it is immense. And so much of that has to do with the swing in public sentiment from the left to center to right. That is happening en masse. Sydney Sweeney is an amazing example of that. The left is now trying to put people into jeans that don't fit in those jeans. And, they're trying to virtue signal that We've got policy and we've got good genes too. Yeah, but they ain't like Sydney Sweeney's, right? Know what I mean? Just, yeah, you try and duplicate that young lady, good luck with that. They're using her as a marketing tool, and that is a brilliant campaign. It is anti-DEI because you got a blonde hair, blue-eyed female that's heterosexual, has come out as a Republican, and Trump says she's hot. I mean, you cannot battle that. So that's what, that's what you've got going on with Seattle. You've got Portland just taking it, bending it over and taking it, going to that knee saying, sir, here's my sword. Let me live another day. And we'd like some of that sweet, sweet, sweet federal money to keep on flowing. It's what they're doing. And I don't blame Portland. Seattle's just, yeah. It's like, yeah. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.